and welcome to The Garden, a podcast for spiritual seekers. I'm Jody Fletcher of the David Connection, and this is a show about how to connect to nature and the planet in ways that will enable deeper and greater healing for you and for us all. Hello, friends. I'm excited to share this episode with you because I just finished recording the reading from the light and also getting a visualization for you for this week. And the energy for this week is so lovely and so expansive and so healing. And so I hope that it manifests in your lives in really beautiful ways that you can look back and go, oh yeah, that was really nice, and I learned that, and this came together, and all of these things. So I thank you for being here, first of all. This is the 7th episode of this podcast, and it has really changed from what I expected it to be. I had a lot of plans for what I thought this podcast would be when I wanted to do it for a couple years. And so I came up with like a structure and a plan for episodes and seasons and all this stuff. And it all sort of went right out the window as soon as I started recording, because the light just wanted to share moment to moment exactly what is coming through. So that's what it has been. And it's been really neat to spend these Sunday mornings doing this. I'm really enjoying it. So I hope you're enjoying it too. And that, that I'm really grateful for those of you who have been listening. So it is now available on all of the streaming platforms or podcast distribution platforms or whatever. So if you feel called, it would be so lovely if you would go to your favorite platform and subscribe and share and give it some stars and give it a review if you've been listening and you've enjoyed it, because I understand from listening to other podcasts that helps it get out to more listeners. And so it would be neat if we had lots of people joining us in this garden and receiving these readings from the light. So I also wanted to share that I have been doing quite a few readings over the last month, and it has been such a lovely experience. I'm so grateful to those of you who have booked readings. And for those of you who are thinking about booking readings, I have a new option available. I'm doing a group reading on May 15th, and the cost is $25. So this is a real good chance to find out what it feels like to spend some time with the light and find out what the light brings through for you, because each person will have the opportunity to ask a couple of questions, because I'm keeping the group really small so that it will be a chance to really connect. And so you will have to be mindful that the other people will hear your questions and hear the answers from the light. But I've always found with group work that there's such an opportunity that like the questions always resonate for more than just the person asking them. And the answers come through in ways that really resonate for more than just the person asking. So I'm really excited to have that group reading and see. It's the first one I'm doing. So I think it's going to be fun. So if you'd like to join in on that, the booking is on the website, which is www.thedavicconnection.com, and Davic is spelled D-E-V-I-C. And there's also the chance to book one-on-one readings, or I'm also doing intuitive business readings. So both of those are me tuning into the light for you, where you can ask any questions. They will be very holistic. So if you book a one-on-one reading, it doesn't mean you can't ask about your business. And if you book a business reading, it doesn't mean you can't ask about your holistic life. You know, a lot's going to come through for your whole life, because we are living in times where things aren't quite so fragmented as they used to be. You don't just like necessarily go to work and come home and have those separations of your heart being here or your heart being there. It's like your heart is in your whole entire life. And so it's really neat to see how the readings do take that into account. The focus might be different, but the energy flow is very, very holistic for everyone. So, so if you'd like to book a reading, I would love to hear from you. And also, I am working on sharing more and more information on Instagram too. So if you'd like to come connect there, it's at the Davik Connection. And I am really excited because I love sharing pictures of trees and plants and everything. And here in the Northern Hemisphere, it's spring. So there's lots of things popping up. And my niece and I have been reading The Secret Garden together, and they talk about magic with a capital M, like when they're in this garden, and just the way the earth is bringing forth all of these beautiful plants and everything. And so I'm really feeling the magic in my life and in my gardens and in the places that I'm so fortunate to be able to romp through nature right now. So with all of that said, I will turn this over to first the visualization and then the reading from the light. So I thank you so much for being here, and I look forward to hearing from you. And I hope you have a really beautiful week. So I've just asked the light if there's a visualization it would like to share for the week, and it said yes. And so here we go. It starts with a violet flame of light, and the violet light is centered in the center of your body, like your solar plexus area, which is right below your rib cage, in that area where you sort of have your gut feelings. And it goes up and through your chest and through your neck and head and out the top of your head to be like the tip of the flame. And the interesting thing is that it also goes down and forms like a tip of the flame down below the bottoms of your feet. So you have this violet light that sort of goes up through your body and goes up to a tip about 2 to 3 feet above your head and goes down through your legs and down and out the bottoms of your feet and forms like a sort of tip at below your feet, 2 to 3 feet. And it's saying to sit with that violet flame for a minute or two if you can. And then after that, to visualize a golden white and bright white, impenetrable bubble of light all around your whole body. And it's saying to do this about 10 feet above, 10 feet in front, 10 feet behind, 10 feet to the left, 10 feet to the right, and 10 feet below. And this bubble has golden white light on the outside, so it's that bright, yellowy, sunshiny kind of color. And it's bright, bright white and prismatic on the inside. And it forms a sort of force field on the outside and a sort of membrane on the inside. And this bubble will help you protect and transmute. So the outside layer is protecting from energies that are coming at you from outside. And the inside layer is helping you transmute anything that is coming out of you and needs to be cleared. So it's saying this is a time where a lot of old energies can be cleared, transmuted, and healed. So if you think of this violet light sort of helping you clear out a whole lot of things and really helping you bring forth in order to heal and transmute some of these very old energies that you've been living with for lifetimes. And then allow that light to sort of expand out to the edges of this bubble of light. So the violet light sort of expands. First, the tips expand up from above your head and down from below your feet to meet up with this bubble of light. And then the part that's like in your body expands out from there to meet up with the edges of this bubble. And when it meets the edges of the bubble, you can visualize the prismatic, bright white membrane of light that's on the inside of this bubble, transmuting and healing all the things that have been brought forth that are ready to be healed and transmuted. And if you feel called, you can also call on Archangel Michael and the Christ light to help you hold space, to be protected, and also to help you transmute any and all of these old energies that are ready to be transmuted. So if you do this visualization and you have any results as this week goes on, I'd love to hear back. So get in contact either via my website or on Instagram. Thanks so much. I hope you have a great week. This is a reading from the light for May 3rd, 2020. And I have to say, I'm really excited to see what this reading comes through with, because the energy already is so expansive and so healing and so lovely. And so I've mentioned on previous podcasts, I don't know what is going to be said in advance of recording. And I just tune into the light as I do for any kind of reading that I do one-on-one, or as I do when I do any kind of channeled writing. And I just allow the light to guide whatever will come through. And as I was tuning in, the energy is so beautiful today and so expansive. And I get that so many of you are experiencing this expansion in really dynamic ways in your life. So with that said, this is May 3rd, 2020, as I mentioned, but if you find yourself here on a different day, at a different time, just know that the message is meant for you whenever you find it. And I want to begin also, as I like to, by welcoming you to the garden and asking you to take just a moment to close your eyes if you can, or just get centered if you can't close your eyes, and really think about what this garden means to you and how it makes you feel, because it's a sacred space that we enter into together when we come to this place and we take a few moments together to tune into the light. Because what I'm getting is that when you listen to this, you're tuning into the light as well. And the light is, for each and every one of us, is our soul's connection to source. So in taking this time for yourself to listen to this podcast, you are tuning into your own soul's connection to source. And listening to me channel my soul's connection to source is helping you open those channels and pathways for that communication in your own life. So when you enter into this sacred space of this garden that we spend this time in together, how do you feel? And how does that opening happen in your life? And also, how does it happen in your body? Do you notice any sensations as you enter this garden? Does your heart feel different? Does your body feel different? Does your mind feel different? Do you feel a different resonance in your mind than you normally would if you're just thinking about stuff? Is there an opening for a flow in your life that maybe hasn't been there for a while? And just notice how that feels as you take a moment to look around you in your mind's eye and visualize what this garden looks like for you. Today, interestingly enough, I'm seeing a weeping willow tree. And as I see, I'm going to go under it and sit under it. That's going to be my spot for today. But take a moment to notice what spot you feel called to today and what that looks like, how it feels, what you see, what you hear, what you smell, what you can taste, and what you can touch. And have that moment to be centered and be present in this place. And so the light is going to go now, because this energy is expansive. And I have noticed a lot in the one-on-one readings I've been doing is that there are so many of you who are out there asking the questions, and you don't even know what the questions necessarily mean. You just feel called to ask them. And a lot of people, I've had the great fortune to read for a lot of people who have never had readings before. And they're called to a spiritual journey that they didn't even realize that they were being called to. And it just comes through in a resonance of like, I'm going to have this reading. I'm going to do this thing for myself that I don't quite understand even necessarily, but it feels important. It feels like the right step to take. And that is a huge thing that is happening for human beings on this planet right now, is being called to this higher degree of awareness. And as we follow this guidance of our soul to these places where we're experiencing new things, we have these opportunities for these openings for the light to flow through for each and every one of us as individuals. And it has been so wonderful and exciting, and I'm so grateful to have been a part of some of these readings. All of the readings I've done. I learn something new from every single reading I do, and so I'm very grateful for everyone who has booked a reading and had a reading with me, because there is such a wonderful share of light that comes through, and I learn something, and I see so many exciting things for you all as I do that. And one of the things I've noticed is that people are, even without realizing it, asking these deeper questions of what is their soul's calling? What is this thing that they feel, the pull that they feel? And I've really had the great fortune to witness some really massive energy shifts taking place for people, and some really neat and surprising guidance come through for people, because we are in this time of so much shifting and so much flux, and there's so much that is happening for each of us as individuals that is taking us deeper into our soul's journey, and that is manifesting as a need for more grounding and more connection. And as we have that need, because it's like a very real need, because the energies are so in flux and so shifting, and the dimensions are literally shifting all around us, whether we realize it or not, we are called to a deeper grounding, a deeper connection with ourselves and with the planet we live on and with our human collective. So we're actually, as everything feels more unmoored and more ungrounded and more unconnected, we have the opportunity to get more grounded, more connected. It's showing me this really interesting energy that I've become aware of in my own life, is like, as a part of my childhood and the lessons of my childhood, I didn't have necessarily an example of what a balanced relationship would look like. My parents did not have the best relationship. And so in that, the most interesting thing as an adult is being able to learn without the constraints or the constructs of what I learned as a kid, what love should look like, what it should look like for me, what balanced relationships look like for me, and how people share space with one another in these like balanced and truly unconditional ways. And so we have sometimes a greater capacity to choose when we don't have the structural foundation of like good examples, when we have to create those for ourselves. We have more autonomy in our choices that we can make. And so it's telling me to share that example, because we all have lost a certain level of the foundation and the structure of how our lives work. And from within that uncertainty, we get to choose. We have the autonomy to choose how we go forward. And that choice isn't always easy. It's not saying that it's all like love and light and go forward and go forth and, expect nothing but abundance, because there are struggles and there are hardships. And that is a great deal of how we learn in this place that is the earth realm, and how we experience life in 3D as human beings. Is we learn the most often through struggle and hardship. But when things are so uncertain, when things are so unstructured, when things are so unmoored, we have the chance to choose to become more structured, become more grounded, become more open to the flow of light, because we're not, I am having a bit of a hard time with the words here, because we're not we don't have the box around us. Like, the box has sort of fallen away, and now we have the energetic autonomy to create our lives from here. I hope that makes sense, because the words aren't quite matching the energy. So hopefully you guys are getting the energy of what I'm saying, because it is so foundationally different than it was even just a little while ago. And what the light is saying is, actually, it's not necessarily so different, that opportunity was always there. It's just that it's so much more obvious to us now, because a lot of us have been anesthetized and grown complacent within the structure of the world and society as we know it sort of working for us. If we've had the privilege of being, like white middle class males, for example, being like the top of the, or even upper class. It's like if you look at like how privilege works, and then the things that are sort of put upon a person by the structures of society, and the things that create inequality in the structures of society. A lot of people have had the opportunity to know that society was not equal, was not just, and did not have this the structural safety and foundation for them. So for those of us who have a lot of privilege, we were complacent. We had a lot of opportunity for complacency and for being anesthetized by the situations being more comfortable for us. And we have now, with the new understanding that has come about through the global pandemic and everything that has sort of come out as a result, people are recognizing that perhaps the structures and the foundation and the systems in place are not as safe, are not as just. And so the things that people have been trying to tell us for hundreds of years about the systems in place are sort of sinking in to those of us who perhaps, because of our privilege, because of our life circumstance, didn't have the receptors for. So with that, there is so much opportunity to co-create new systems, new structures, new foundations that are more in keeping with our co-creation as the whole of our human collective. That, to co-create a world that is more just, is more equal, is more open and in the flow of light for all people, as opposed to sort of working very specifically for some and very much not working for others. So these are the kinds of things that are opening up, and they're opening up in each individual in differentiated ways, because we are differentiated beings. So these big energies are sort of blossoming within each of us, and bringing with them new awareness of what the world we live in actually looks like, and what the world we want to live in actually looks like. And that is a really healing energy, and it brings with it so much opportunity for growth and expansion, and really, really wonderful energies of compassion and unconditional love, because we are having the opportunity to see how we are all connected in such intricate and intimate ways. And isn't it interesting that it took all of us retreating into isolation to help us understand how interconnected we all actually are? So what it's saying for you to take forth from this space is to spend some time thinking about, and when it says thinking, it's calling you into the higher aspects of your mind. So it's not so much about thinking in terms of like deciding and plotting and determining what you what your mind thinks. It's more about spending time in the energy of discovery. And so the higher aspects of your mind are more open to the energy of discovery as opposed to the energy of like closing down around determining. So it's calling you to spend some time in the energy of discovery of what these energies of expansion and of awareness are calling you to understand on a deeper level. And from there, what that looks like and how it filters through from this higher aspect of your mind, from this place of discovery and openness and flow into your 3D life and into how is that shifting how you operate? And is it shifting how you operate? And if it is, what does that look like? And if it's not, what could it look like if you allowed it to sort of come all the way through? And would you make different decisions, or would you make the same decisions but with more intention or with more understanding, or sometimes even with more compassion for yourself and where you're currently at? Because we need to have a lot of compassion for ourselves and where we're currently at. We need to take the pressure off to a certain extent of feeling like we have to know all of the answers right this moment and have all of the lessons already integrated. It's an ever-expanding process. And in that expansion, we have to have compassion for where we are. And we have to know that it's not all going to work all the time, every time. That there is a certain level of trial and error that we all go through in life to help us determine what is our next step. And that it's important to be compassionate with yourself and give yourself that space to have that trial and error and have that really deep look at what all of this means to you. And then allow the integration. And so to know that that integration is always taking place, that expansion is always taking place, that as long as you are embodied here on this planet, there is no end to what you will continue to learn if you so choose. And it is a wonderful opportunity, this place and this time that you have chosen to incarnate, to learn so many different lessons and to have such deep and great expansion of your connection to your soul and to the light and to all that is. And so I'm going to ask the light, is there anything else it wants to share for today? And it's saying, go forth with that intention to be more mindful of how these energies are playing out in your life. Be more mindful of the opportunities you have to look around and be grounded in this place, in this time, and see the beautiful aspects of what you are learning and what these little openings for that expansion and that growth look like. And to take moments around those experiences, because in that awareness and in taking that time around it, so much will shift for you. And yeah, so that's the reading for the week. And I'll leave you with these words that my teacher gifted me when I started this podcast. Open to the flow of light.